What's going on, everybody? My name is Jake, also known as The Haunted Beard. Thanks for joining me. Today, I am continuing my series of reviews talking about George A. Romero's zombie movies. And today, I am talking about what is widely considered one of the greatest zombie movies of all time, and another classic in this series, and that is from 1978, Dawn of the Dead. This was a first-time watch for me, so I was very much looking forward to this one and had some anticipation and expectations, just given the fact that, again, it is widely considered a zombie classic, so was very curious to see how it was going to hold up. I've got some thoughts for you. Let's do it. The setup here for Dawn of the Dead is pretty straightforward, as this takes place during an escalating zombie epidemic. And here we follow two Philadelphia SWAT team members, a traffic reporter and his TV executive girlfriend, as they seek refuge in a secluded shopping mall. And I found quite a bit that I appreciated and enjoyed about Dawn of the Dead. First thing is, I really like how Romero opens the film in that he drops us right in the middle of the action. There's no build-up, there's no introduction. This movie starts and it goes. And so I really like that. It really starts with some energy and just some good momentum that really kind of grabs you and hooks you and pulls you right into the film. We open up behind the scenes on a news broadcast as there's people running around. It's chaos, it's pandemonium. They're trying to report on the craziness that's happening of zombies around the nation, eating people and killing people. And so we see all the craziness happening kind of behind the scenes in this news station. And I like when filmmakers do this. I like that feeling as you're watching a movie of sort of trying to keep up, right? This movie just starts and it goes, and we're just trying to keep up. We're trying to kind of figure out, okay, what's going on exactly? What's the context of things? There's no sit down and let's explain everything to the audience. It just moves. And so I like that feeling of trying to keep up with the craziness that's happening. So I really like how Romero chose to open the film and just put us right in the middle of the action. Following this scene, we're introduced to two of our other main characters, the two SWAT team members, Peter and Roger, as they are getting ready to go on this SWAT raid into this apartment complex. And man, this is one of the best scenes of the film. I thought this entire apartment scene invasion by the SWAT team was fantastic. You get some really good action, some really gnarly practical effects and zombie, blood, guts, and gore and all that good stuff. The zombies here are creepy. They feel threatening. They're gross. All the stuff works really, really well. I love how this film opens up. Those first two sequences I think are pretty great. And the look and the feel of the film here is something that can't really ever be replicated. Given the fact that it was filmed in the 70s, it just has that 70s feel. And if you know, you know. But this film, it just has that 70s vibe. And nothing really gives off the vibe better than the SWAT team raid on the apartment, where it's just this brutal, visceral, bloody, kind of dirty, grungy scene. But man, it's just so great. Again, if you know, you know. It just has that 70s feel that you can't get with anything unless you're watching a real movie from the 1970s. And it was at this point that I really started to become immersed in Romero's vision, where the first film, as influential and impactful as that was, I almost kind of see that more as a bit of a proof of concept. Romero introduces this radical new idea of zombies kind of thing in that first film. But this is taking that concept and really expanding it. This, I feel like, is the full vision from Romero, to where, he was more limited and kind of restrained in the earlier film. And this film now being 10 years later and having more money, you can really see his vision come to life here. This is kind of the full Romero zombie experience. And I mean, you really feel that right from the beginning of the film. Now, about half hour into the movie, our four main characters get on this little helicopter to go seek safety and refuge. And of course, they find this shopping mall. They land on the roof. They enter into the mall and they kind of, barricade themselves in to just get some safety and shelter. And they end up deciding that this is where they're going to live now. They are going to kind of fortify this place, and they decide to make it, their home, so to speak. And so the rest of the film takes place inside this shopping mall. And here's where the film takes a bit of a shift in terms of the pacing of the film kind of slows down a little bit, and even the tone of the film changes up a little bit as well. This film has some more lighthearted and humorous moments that I didn't really expect. And also, too, the pacing here, like I said, slows down quite a bit. And even though the middle chunk of the film isn't as intense or thrilling as the opening half hour or really the final half hour, there is a reason for it. There's a reason why Romero changes things up and kind of shifts gears a little bit, and it has to do with what he's trying to do and what he's trying to say with this movie. And I'll be honest, it did kind of throw me off a little bit. This being my first experience with the movie, I didn't know what to expect, and I try to go into every movie with kind of open expectations and just kind of letting the film be and speak for itself. I didn't expect the humor. I didn't expect some of the more lighthearted, almost playful tone with some of it. Even the music, too, is a little different and not what you would expect maybe in a typical zombie movie. The music is, again, it's more light. It almost feels like or sounds like something you would hear at a circus. It has sort of a very kind of carnival type musical vibe to it, which again was just different and not really what I was expecting. But as I said, this is all intentional and by design, because Romero has a vision and he's going somewhere with this, and he's doing this all for a reason. And so my experience with the middle of the movie, I still enjoyed it. I just didn't enjoy it as much as the kind of the ends of the movie, the beginning and the ending. And so that's not necessarily a criticism against the movie. It's just kind of a personal flavor thing, to where it is more lighthearted than I would have expected. And it feels like it drags a little bit for me in that middle part. But again, it's all by design. And as I said, it has to do with what Romero is trying to communicate with this movie. And what he does is he uses a zombie horror film as a critique of society and culture and our obsession with materialism and consumerism and things like that. And so Romero really has a lot to say in this movie. And like I said, it's this critique of consumerism and how the vast majority of the public are just these mindless zombies, and all we're focused on is stuff, whatever that stuff is. And here are these people in this mall surrounded by all this stuff. And there's a great scene about 90 minutes into the movie that really speaks to what Romero's trying to say with this, where one of the SWAT team guys, Peter, he's looking at the zombies outside pounding on the doors, and he's like, they're us. They want to be in here. They're us. That's all. And so it's just comparing us to them. We all have appetites. We all have one thing on our mind. Whatever that is, whatever we want, we can't help but just focus on that one thing. We just consume. We just take. We all have these appetites. We all have stuff in our life, these appetites, and that's all we focus on. And we just consume it, and that's it. And so I really like what Romero does here with the commentary. I also think there's a way to look at this movie too, that we become so consumed with sort of, again, all the stuff that we completely ignore all the real issues and problems that are going on outside on our front door, out in the world around us, sort of thing. So you've got these four people, and all they are focused on is just trying to live their lives and the little luxuries and conveniences that they have in this mall, and, kind of completely turn a blind eye to the literal zombie apocalypse that's going on outside on their front doorstep, so to speak. And so I think there's also something there that Romero says about society, on how so many of us are, again, kind of focused on these little things. We just all want to come home and turn on Netflix and just kind of forget about the world. When there's all sorts of insanity and craziness happening in the world, but we would just kind of rather turn a blind eye to it and forget about it. And so there's a lot going on here that Romero really stuffs into this movie, and it's all done in a pretty interesting and compelling way, and it's all surrounded by zombies. So, it's pretty cool. And so eventually what happens is their lives become this very kind of monotonous, repetitive cycle. and tensions start to rise, and they all get very irritable and bored and just agitated with one another. And again, it kind of just speaks to how all the stuff will never satisfy you. And again, there's so much there. I mean, this could open up an entire video on just the commentary that's in this movie, and it produced some pretty interesting and thoughtful discussions. But again, it just looks at, you know, what motivates us, what drives us. Like this idea that if we had all the stuff that we want, what makes us think that that would actually satisfy us? Right? We all have, oh, if I just had more stuff, if I just had more whatever it is, then I would be fulfilled and then I would be satisfied. But it's like, no, you wouldn't. Why do you think that if you had all the stuff you wanted, you would be satisfied? And again, this movie kind of looks at that and is like, no, you wouldn't be. And then we get to the last half hour of the film, which is also pretty great. As it turns out, there is this biker gang that discovers that these 4 people have been camped out and sheltered up in this mall, and they go raid the mall, and it is pretty much all out chaos and destruction. And again, there's more commentary there. This film almost, it kind of just becomes a little microcosm of society. It's just a whole bunch of social commentary wrapped within a zombie movie. And I just found it pretty thought-provoking and pretty interesting. And again, how the film ends, you know, it's like, this is why we can't have nice things, right? It's like we just destroy everything. We ruin everything. We only care about ourselves. We're selfish. If we can't have it, we don't want anybody else to have it. We're willing to steal. We're willing to take advantage of. We're willing to, you know, whatever, just for the sake of ourselves. We're just a very selfish, destructive, you know, society kind of thing. And so I really like all the commentary and all the stuff that Romero weaves into this. He does it in a way that it's very strong and kind of heavy-handed, but at the same time, it's done in such a fun and creative way. It doesn't feel preachy. It doesn't feel like it has an agenda. It's done in a fun, creative, zombie, violent-filled, gory, gnarly sort of way that I quite enjoyed. So yeah, there's a lot here to appreciate. I really like too just the setting of the film, and it has just some good cinematography. I really like the colors. The colors here are so vibrant, and just kind of an interesting, you know, contrast between this and Night of the Living Dead, where you've got, you know, the black and white, and then obviously color here, but both films have just very visceral and memorable images. And one of them does that in the black and white vibe. This one does it in a color vibe, but it's like these super intense, vibrant colors, and it still really works. And so, yeah, there's a lot here to appreciate. There are a couple things that I could, you know, critique a little bit. I wish we would have gotten a little bit more out of the characters, just a little more depth, and I wish we would have gotten to maybe know them a little bit better and learn about them. I think it would have made more of an impact when, you know, some of their fates come about. And so I think the character work could have been a little bit better. There are parts of the film where I feel like the zombies don't feel all that threatening. And I think that's just potentially a product of watching this older movie in 2024. You know, when the zombies are walking around in slow motion and there's like 10 of them surrounding one of the characters and they can just kind of, you know, sprint away. It kind of loses a little bit of that sort of, you know, scary, dangerous, threatening type of vibe to it. And so there are a few moments in there where the zombies don't feel maybe as scary or threatening as they feel like they should have. But look, overall, I had a pretty good time with this movie. It was a fun first-time watch. This is one that definitely looking forward to returning to again. Yeah, this was a good one. I'm going to be... let's see. I mean, if I'm trying to be objective, this is like, you know, 8.5, 9 out of 10. My entertainment or kind of personal enjoyment out of it would probably be more like a 7.5, maybe close to an 8, somewhere in there. But I don't know. Average that out however you will. Yeah. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Hit me up down below. Like always love hearing from you guys and hearing your opinions on stuff. Let me know your thoughts on Dawn of the Dead. Would love to hear from you. That's all I got, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Greatly appreciate it. If you got anything out of this video, go ahead and do me a favor and do not click that subscribe button unless you want to be haunted by the beard.